I was just in Walgreens. Oh, and look what I found. I went in to go get my skincare, and I was just glancing down the aisles to see what they had. Look! I didn't know she was at Walgreens. I know she was at Target, but I didn't know she was at Walgreens. It's supposed to be like, maybe I should have read it. It's a mystery meow squishy figure. Oh, my hair looks insane. I'm so sorry. I've never like got one of these before. I've seen them and I think they're really cute. Oh my god, my hair looks crazy right now. For real, I've never got one of these before. Get one. I want the plushies, but I've just never like just got one. I don't know why. Oh my god, it's like jelly. Oh, look at it. It's like a little pie. It's like a little pie cat. That is so, come on, that's so cute. And he's squishy. I gotta get him out of the sun or else he's gonna melt, but surprise. It was only like $6 too. Approved. Someone tell me not to buy it. Someone tell me not to buy it. Someone tell me not to buy it. Hey gang, welcome back to rewatching all of Aphmau's MyStreet. While I was editing the last video, they actually came out with a drop on their merch store of the Aaron and Aphmau hoodies, and Aaron's jacket is still the same. Bro, I wanted that so badly as a kid. I don't need it, but gosh dang, wouldn't that be kind of cool to have? Last part, we covered all of graduation days, and then we also covered all of Falcon Claw University. In this episode, we're gonna cover all of The Big Move, which is a mini series that's like 5 episodes that sets up for the season, and then we're gonna cover all of MyStreet season 1. So MyStreet is technically a spin-off slice of life series that has some of the characters from Diaries, which was the main role play at the time on the channel. So throughout The Big Move and throughout season 1, there are a lot, and I mean a lot of references to Diaries. That's why I call this part the silly goofy era, because technically it's like the very beginning, because it was the first thing that ever came out. You can kind of tell that the Diaries references slowly stop showing up throughout the season as the season starts to become its own story. And we can go into the fact of like, oh, Diaries is actually the prequel to all of MyStreet because it's in the same universe. I don't know. I don't understand the timeline of that. Maybe one day I'll cover all of Diaries, because Diaries itself is actually very well written and amazing. It's got a great plot, great characters, and my god, I would pay so much money to see that thing be finished. Anyway, let's like actually get into it now. So Aphmau lives in her own apartment, and Garth and Lawrence actually live across from her. Aphmau is actually planning on moving out, but she's really nervous to tell Garth and Lawrence. She invites Aaron over to help her pack up her stuff, and Garth and Lawrence become suspicious that something is going on between them.
Are you kidding me? Look at us, Garth. We're 2 fine specimens of men.
Okay, here we go. So they show up in... I wrote down plumber outfits, but very specific plumber outfits. They dress up as plumbers to trick her to like come in, I guess, and figure out what's going on. But she's not stupid, so she's like, Garth and Lawrence, get the hell out of here. While her and Aaron are starting to like pack up some more stuff, and Garth and Lawrence are standing outside of the door watching through the window, her dog Celestia trips her and she falls into Aaron's arms. Garth and Lawrence see this, and I think they try to break in, ? Aphmau and Aaron end up going out the fire escape in her apartment to get away from Garth and Lawrence, and they end up going to IHOP for breakfast, where conveniently Kawaii-chan and Caitlin also work. At IHOP, Aphmau actually asks Kawaii-chan and Caitlin to move in with her to the place she's moving to, and they both say yes. Also in this IHOP establishment, we get a first glance of Kawaii-chan's shipping problem. It's another one of those things where it's like, you gotta hear me out about this. So apparently recently Kawaii-chan has gotten really into shipping and is like shipping all of her like in real life friends and kind of push them together, and she actually is the biggest shipper of Aphmau and Aaron. So Kawaii-chan's freaking out because they're here together, and she's like, oh my god, they're here on a date, let me bring them a cake. And so she brings them a couple's cake at IHOP for breakfast, and she brings them 1 spoon. They decide to both eat the cake, and while they're eating the cake with 1 spoon still, might I add. Heyitsnan's on the side taking photos of them. So back at the apartment, Aphmau finally tells Garth and Lawrence that she is moving, but when they ask her where she's moving to, she's like, I'm not gonna tell y'all. They decide to go against her wishes and try to find out where she's moving anyway. I will probably say it throughout this video like 10 times, but Garth and Lawrence are actually menaces in season 1 of MyStreet. So Caitlin and Heyitsnan go to their own apartments and they start packing up their stuff to move in. Garth and Lawrence actually find out that they're moving in with Aphmau, and they decide to go ask Heyitsnan if she needs any help. Basically, they're trying to get information out of her, either through like her or her phone, trying to find this address to know where Aphmau is moving to. Of course, Heyitsnan does find out, and she kicks them out of her apartment. So the reason why Garth and Lawrence really want to find this address and know where she's going to be is because they're nervous that they're going to lose Aphmau to Aaron. And if she moves somewhere that's right next door to him, she can go over there all the time, and they can hang out all the time. And they're like, oh my god, we're gonna lose her. Oh, by the way, this whole miniseries happens in one day. But throughout the day, Aphmau is planning on inviting everyone out to dinner that night to Olive Garden. So before the dinner, Aphmau and Aaron decide to go to a cake shop and buy a cake for everybody who's gonna be at the dinner. And while they're there, a girl named Michi actually ends up getting fired. Aaron actually ends up getting some cake on his face, and Aphmau goes to wipe it off for him, and Garth and Lawrence see this through the window, and they're like, oh, that's lovey-dovey, that's too much. They both see Michi walk out of the cake shop, and Lawrence is like, follow her, I have an idea. So at Olive Garden that night, Garth and Lawrence are acting very suspicious, more than usual. At one point, Aaron leaves to go to the bathroom, and while he's heading that way, Michi knocks him out and steals his clothes. We find out that Garth and Lawrence paid her to take his clothes so one of them could dress as Aaron and ask for Aphmau's address. Did I mention they are insane? Garth actually is the one that ends up dressing up as Aaron and going out and asking Aphmau for her address. Aphmau is not stupid, so she realizes that it's Garth and calls him out on it. Aaron conveniently walks out of the bathroom with just his boxers and is like, can I have my shirt back? And every girl in the restaurant faints because he's just so hot. Pause. I think a really good thing that MyStreet does have, though, are these running bits throughout the season. And one of them is just Aaron is just so hot that like everyone's like, oh my god. Anyway, so Garth and Lawrence return to their apartment defeated.
I wish there was a way I could make it up to you in your rock hard abs. I mean, whoops.
They're talking about the situation. They're like, I think we need an outside perspective. And they call over Dante. Dante, who is also mad that he didn't get an invite to Olive Garden. Dante tells them that they're going about it the whole wrong way and that they need to get Aphmau's attention back to them so she can appreciate them. I don't know. He suggests the idea to make her jealous, and so his plan is, why don't Lawrence and Garth flirt with another girl in front of her so she becomes jealous and is like, oh my god, I want their attention again. So that night, Aphmau actually ends up taking Aaron out to the movies to make up for what Lawrence and Garth did at the restaurant. And Aphmau's like, I think this is a bad idea. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know. I just don't want them to show up anymore and like mess with you. And he's like, man, screw them. Let's hang out. And she's like, okay. So in the movie, Lawrence and Garth actually show up with Michi. And I guess they hired her again. I don't know. But their plan is to flirt with her right in front of Aphmau while she's sitting with Aaron.
I hope I don't ever find you and Michi in the forest making out and assume that it's really you guys and end up going evil for a period of time to work with my brother to doom the land.
Aaron actually ends up putting his arm around Aphmau, and of course Lawrence and Garth like freak out and they're like, what are you doing? Don't touch her! They go to attack Aaron, I think, and then Aaron's like, I have a secret weapon, and he like snaps his fingers, and all of the girls in the theater are like, oh my god, we're gonna beat these guys up because they're messing with our hot guy Aaron. So after all that, it's like late that night, and Aphmau decides that she wants to go hang out with Lawrence and Garth in their apartment one last time before she moves, because she's like feeling nostalgic or whatever. Even after all of that, she's like, yeah, they're still my friends. While they're getting ready to watch a movie in their apartment, they end up stealing her purse like thieves and find her address online. unknowing. They're insane! While looking at her address, they actually find out that there is conveniently and also a free house right across from her, but they quickly realize that they cannot afford that. They decide to call Dante back over and is like, hey Dante, we're gonna peer pressure you into moving in with us. And Dante's like, wait,
I don't want to move.
and they're like, well, too bad. Dante agrees, but then he tells them how once they get there, he's basically gonna try to steal Aphmau away from them. And they're like, and now there's another guy in this whole mess. So they're having that whole conversation in like Lawrence or Garth's bedroom or whatever, and while Aphmau's just sitting in the kitchen like, la 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 la, and she doesn't know any of this is happening. And that's the end of the big move. It happens all in one day. It's very fast, and it's very chaotic. And then it jumps into MyStreet Season 1. So it's the next day, and Aphmau, Heyitsnan, and Caitlin are all moving into their new house together in the suburbs. It's hinted, and it's funny enough, it's hinted that Aphmau actually has a night job, which is connecting this roleplay to another roleplay she did of a FNAF miniseries. It's not specified in this that it's a FNAF job, but in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Anyway, they start moving in, and while visiting the next door neighbor, Brendan, they notice that someone else is actually moving into the house across from them. They go over to greet these other neighbors, and they find out, of course, it's Garth, Lawrence, and Dante, and they are moving in. So while interrogating all of them in front of their house, they're all acting very suspicious and are like, what? You moved here? That's crazy. So she leaves the boys and is like, whatever, and she goes back into her house to find Heyitsnan and Caitlin, and she's looking for them like, hey guys, where you guys at? And instead of finding Heyitsnan, she actually finds Heyitsnan's shrine. Remember when I said back when they were at IHOP that Heyitsnan was getting really into shipping, and she was getting into shipping Aphmau and Aaron? Well, in the basement of their shared home now, Heyitsnan has a shrine to Aphmau and Aaron, and she goes to it, and I quote, to give strength to her ship. I mean, like, it must have worked, because I mean, we all know they're together, but like, damn, it's crazy. Anyway, so we've also find out later on that Zane also lives on their street, and he's in charge of the neighborhood watch. So it's the next day, and the girls are still moving in, trying to get a few things together, and they decide to order pizza that night. So the pizza guy we meet is actually named Reese, and he's this guy who's just pink all over, and he claims that he's from another dimension. I don't know. Aphmau actually goes to grab some money from her bedroom real quick, and while the guy's waiting at the door with the pizza, Heyitsnan sees him and is like, oh my god, I'm in love. Aphmau gets back from getting the money, and she's like, oh, where'd the guy go? And Heyitsnan's like, oh, he said it was on the house. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. So later on, Aphmau's upstairs, and she's grabbing Caitlin and Heyitsnan to come down and eat. And she walks into Heyitsnan's room, and she sees the pizza guy asleep on her bed. Heyitsnan explains that she offered him a cookie because she was so starstruck by this man's beauty, but apparently this cookie was a magic sleeping cookie. Why does she even have those? I don't know. But she accidentally put him to sleep with the cookie, and she didn't want Aphmau to freak out because she also freaked out at the shrine yesterday. And so Aphmau's like, fine. It's fine, let's just get him downstairs. I love Heyitsnan, by the way. I want to make that very clear. She's one of my favorite characters, but my god, was she insane in the beginning of the show. Anyway, so Reese wakes up on their couch and is like, what happened? And they're like, oh, you just like fainted or whatever. And he says like, thank you. And Heyitsnan freaks out, and now she has a big crush on him. So like a few days later, after all of that mess, Aphmau actually ends up going over to the guy's house and to hang out with them and to like kind of see their new place. And she also wants to apologize about assuming that they moved here just to live next to her. While she's over there, the guys are all kind of going back and forth, fighting to get her attention, but Garth and Lawrence cannot keep their cool around her, so she ends up going into Dante's room and hanging out with him. Garth and Lawrence freak out because they think they hear Dante or Aphmau doing something or whatever, and then Garth freaks out, and we get the iconic,
Dante, you're dead!
Obviously nothing was actually happening between them, and Aphmau leaves because she's like, I can't stand y'all. So it's suddenly winter, and it's the holiday season. So Kawaii-chan tells Aphmau that she really wants to buy a Christmas gift for Reese, even though she literally hasn't spoken to him. Like, Aphmau decides to say yes and go help her pick out a gift for him, but at the mall, they kind of get into a little bit of an argument, and Kawaii-chan ends up running away. She later finds Kawaii-chan crying on the ground, and she's like, girl, what happened? She's like, I spent all of my money on pony things because those salespeople were just so good at their job. Zane ends up coming over here, and apparently he's working part-time as mall security. Zane sees that Kawaii-chan is crying, and usually he wouldn't do this, but he sees that she bought a limited edition pony figures. And so he's like, hey, if you give me a discount, I'll buy all of them off of you. And she's like, bet. And she gets her money back. And it's all good. So it is still the holiday season, and Aphmau actually gets turned into a cat. I'm not going to give any further details about that, but she needs to spread cat mischeer. She goes over to the guy's house as a cat, and Gareth picks her up, and he quickly forms a bond with her and names her Sprinkles. She's like, this is weird. No, I'm not going to the vet. And she ends up running and bumping into Zane. She ends up following Zane home as a cat, and, you know, they're chilling or whatever, and then she ends up giving him the Christmas sweater her cat version's wearing as like a gift. And this is the first gift outside of family that Zane has gotten for Christmas. Zane, of course, is a little like, oh my god, like, do I actually have a friend and a cat? And then she turns back to normal, and he's like, oh, it was a prank? And she's like, oh, bye. So Zane thinks all of that was just a prank, and he's a little like mad about it. Just keep this in mind for later. We'll pick up this storyline later. So it's getting closer to Christmas, and Aphmau and the girls decide, hey, we're gonna throw a Christmas / welcoming party to our new house. They invite everyone over, including Aaron, who shows up a little bit late, and it's also the first time we've seen Aaron since the big move. Kawaii-chan also invites Reese and Michi. So during the party, there is a mistletoe in their house, and Dante, Lawrence, and Garth are all trying to get Aphmau under there so they can kiss her. So while trying to get her under it, Reese ends up under it, and Michi as well, and they end up kissing, and Kawaii-chan faints because of this. Aphmau actually ends up under the mistletoe that night with Aaron, but they don't kiss. They actually don't even acknowledge it, and they're like, okay, whatever, bye. So remember when Zane was really bitter, thinking that the whole cat thing was a prank? Well, during Christmas, he actually becomes the Grinch. With the help of Pinky Cake, the pony figure, coming to life, he actually attempts to steal Christmas from MyStreet.
You're a mean one, Mr. Zane. You really are a heel.
While he's trying to steal the tree in Aphmau's house, Aphmau catches him, and she's like, Santa, what are you doing? And then she's like, wait a second, Zane? He tells her how he's mad that the whole thing was a prank, and that he feels disrespected, and also that she didn't invite him to her holiday party. And she's like, I did invite you to the holiday party. Don't you check your mail? And he was like, what? And she's like, your mailbox? And he's like, oh, I don't check my mailbox. Huh? She also ends up giving him a gift, a picture she got someone to make of him and her as a cat. And it's really sweet because this is the first, again, another first real gift that he's gotten from someone outside of his family. So Zane returns Christmas to all of MyStreet, and him and Aphmau actually end up under the mistletoe on Christmas Day, and she gives him a little kiss on the cheek. So after the whole shebang at Christmas and the whole Grinch situation or whatever, Aphmau and Zane actually start becoming friends and hanging out, and people are starting to notice and are like, didn't y'all hate each other?
Okay, I'm not even gonna.
You're fun. I thought you were a piece of shit. I honestly thought you were an asshole. So
New Year's actually comes pretty quickly, and Garth and Lawrence decide to throw a really last minute New Year's Eve party. So at the party, a bunch of people start showing up, like Jeffrey, Emmeline, Kemmer, I always say his name wrong, I'm sorry. So at the party, it's getting close to midnight, and Aphmau sees Emmeline run to the bathroom, and she seems like really upset and nervous, and she runs in there and she's like, hey girl, what's up? And she's like, I really want to kiss Kemmer at midnight, but I don't know how to. And so she ends up giving her some smooshy advice. We find out in the other room, in Gareth's bedroom, Gareth is giving advice to Kemmer to kiss Emmeline, and it's pretty questionable advice.
You puff out your feathers like this and do a little dance. This will not only attract her to you, but will scare off other males as well. Wow.
There's so many good bits in this season. I can't. They do end up kissing, though. We don't really see them the rest of the season, but I love seeing them because they were in Diaries, and they are very important in Diaries, and they're just great characters. So it's a new year, and we find out that after the New Year's Eve party, Dante and Garth started buying a lot of feathers online to make themselves more attractive to girls. Apparently, they spent hundreds of dollars on these feathers, so much so that they had to get a fourth roommate to pay for rent. Their fourth roommate actually ends up being Travis. Travis makes his grand return to MyStreet. Also in this episode, I just want to point this out, it is canon that Lawrence and Garth can communicate telepathically.
Wait, Lawrence? Was that you?
Garth? Are we communicating with our thoughts?
Who cares?
Like I said before, Aphmau and Zane are actually starting to hang out, and they actually hang out by bonding over ponies, and it's really, really wholesome. I love that. Aphmau is Zane's first friend ever he's ever had in his whole life. So when she's like, hey, do you want to make some new friends? He's like, I don't really know about it. I'm still kind of new to this whole friendship thing. So they're talking upstairs in Aphmau's room, and downstairs, Travis actually comes over and introduces himself to Kawaii-chan and Caitlin. Kawaii-chan invites him in, and she actually invites him to bake cookies with her, and he's like, yeah, sure. And so him, her, and Caitlin are all hanging out downstairs, and Zane and Aphmau are upstairs. Aphmau decides, hey, do you want to go downstairs and meet some people and make some new friends? And Zane's like, I guess so. Zane does try to talk to them downstairs and try to get to know them, but honestly, he's not really into it. And so he's like, you know what, Aphmau, I just want to take this slow. I just want to have one friend right now. And she's like, I get that. So while Zane's leaving, Travis and Kawaii-chan have burned down the kitchen because they were not watching the cookies. So for right now, the girls are out of their house because their house has too many damages from the fire.
The rest of the house can be fixed with a little paint, and Kawaii-chan here can be fixed with a little TLC, which stands for Travis Loving Care.
And Kawaii-chan's like, oh my god, I feel so bad. I have to make this up to them. So Kawaii-chan decides to get a second job to help pay for the damages of the house. And she actually goes and applies for a maid cafe that just opened up in the city. She begs Aphmau to go with her in hopes of seeming more serious about the job. And Aphmau's like, yeah, sure, I'll go. While there, Michi gets fired in front of them again from this job. I swear, Michi's like Trish from Austin Alley. She has so many jobs.
Guess you got a job at? She's out of my league.
But yeah, Michi quits and she leaves, and then the hostess that they're talking to is like, actually, something just opened up. Do you want to do a trial run day? Kawaii-chan and Aphmau are like, I guess so. And they both get dragged into doing a trial day. Garth, Lawrence, Dante, and Travis end up showing up to this maid cafe because they heard the girl, specifically Aphmau, was working there. And they're like, oh my god, we want to see Aphmau, oh my god. Aphmau doesn't want them to see her dressed up like that, so she hides in the back. And she actually ends up running into Zane. Zane, conveniently, is apparently working part-time as a delivery truck guy. He's also like Trish from Austin Alley. Him and Michi just have so many jobs.
Guess who got a job at It's a Racket?
She tells him the whole thing about not wanting to go out because she doesn't want the guys to see her this way. And Zane's like, hey,
Take off your clothes. Ouch!
I don't even know what to think of you right now.
why don't we just switch clothes and they can see me in it? And she's like, bet. And so they switch clothes and he ends up going out there and she wears his clothes to go get hers. Zane, even though this is his first friendship, he's doing a great job at friending right now. He's doing great. Love him. So even though Kawaii-chan originally was the only one going in for the job, her and Aphmau actually both start working there together to pay for the damages of the house because it pays pretty well apparently, so they're both just like, well, might as well just work here. So throughout the season, it's hinted that Aphmau and Aaron do hang out a lot outside of everybody else, but everyone's always a little bit like, what's going on with those two? Like, they're weird, especially Lawrence and Garth because they freak out over every little thing. So at the beginning of the new year, apparently Kawaii-chan promised Aphmau that she would take down her shrine of her and Aaron, and she does, but we find out that she actually replaces it with a shrine of Dante and Nicole. Anyway, that's what Kawaii-chan's doing right now. Caitlin is actually deciding that she wants to put on a neighborhood play. She explains that she's always had an interest in theater and would love to do something with it. And of course, Aphmau encourages her and is like, you should do it, you should do it. And she's like, okay, I want to put on Romeo and Juliet. And she's like, bet, do it. And she's like, will you be Juliet? And she's like, They end up holding auditions, and all of the guys are trying to get the role of Romeo, you know, and everybody's like, oh my god, like, who's gonna kiss Aphmau? So all of the boys are auditioning, including Aaron. And when Aaron goes up to audition, Caitlin's like, can you take off your bandana and your hood? I can't hear you. I need to see your emotions. And he's like, okay. And he takes it off. And all of the fangirls run up. And she's like, oh my god, Kate, you got the part, Aaron. Oh my god. And he's like, I didn't even get to do anything. So Aaron gets the part just because he's just so hot. So Aphmau's freaking out because she's like, oh my god, Aaron's playing Romeo. That means we're gonna have to kiss. Lawrence and Gareth, of course, are like freaking out. Like, oh my god, we have to prevent this. How dare she have a love life that doesn't include us? So on the days leading up to the play happening and the kiss, Gareth and Lawrence are trying everything to just like get Aaron out of the production. They even go as far as trying to board him into his own house. Lucinda actually ends up showing up with a switch places potion, and she ends up giving it to Lawrence, being like, if you want this for that kiss, it's yours. And he was like, bet. So he takes it, and she's like, are you gonna tell Garth about it? And he's like, heck no, that kiss is mine. So during the actual play, Gareth boards Aaron up in the bathroom so he can't do the kiss scene, and Caitlin comes running in, is like, where's Aaron? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And then she's like, okay, Garth, you're going on as Aaron, just put on this mask. And he's like, okay. So Lawrence doesn't realize that it's actually Gareth, Aaron's place, and Aphmau's about to kiss him on stage when he uses the potion, but it actually switches places with her. And so Lawrence ends up kissing Gareth. So after the play is all wrapped up and Aaron's finally free out of the bathroom, he finds Aphmau on stage and there's no one there. And he's like, hey. And she's like, hey, I'm so sorry that you got locked up. Like, I was really looking forward to that kissing scene, haha. And he's like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, what? And then he kisses her. She ends up telling Zane about her and Aaron's kiss. And of course, Zane is like, what? Y'all have to date now. What do you mean y'all not dating? I will make him date you.
How can I be calm? You and Aaron kissed!
Huh? Did you feel that?
There's a disturbance. I think we need to check on Aphmau.
She tells him that her and Aaron just kind of want to keep things casual right now and not tell anyone really, because they don't want everyone to put their own like noses in her business. So they're like, you know what, we're just gonna stay friends and we may just go on a date here and there. We're not dating or anything. So not just Zane, but like everyone's like, what is going on with Aphmau and Aaron? Like, they are hanging out all the time. They're always like awkward around each other. Like, something is going on. Something is brewing. So it's February and Travis is super excited about Valentine's Day because he actually got a kind of official date with Caitlin. He ends up asking Aphmau to go on a double date with her and Aaron and him and Caitlin to make Caitlin feel more comfortable on the date and like try to open up to him more. Unwillingly, Aphmau agrees to go do this, and she's like, fine, let's just not have it get back to everybody. But of course, it gets back to everybody. Gareth and Lawrence hear that she's going out on a double date with Aaron, and they're like, what the hell, Travis? Why didn't you tell us about this? Travis actually ends up lying to them, saying that Aphmau is just pretending to date Aaron to make Caitlin feel comfortable during their date. And they're like, of course she would do that. She's just so kind. So Gareth and Lawrence actually end up getting dates themselves to also go on this double date thing. And then next thing I know, the whole street is going out on Valentine's Day. So the pairings for Valentine's Day are Aphmau and Aaron, Gareth and Cadenza, Lawrence and Lucinda, Heyitsnan and Reese, Travis and Caitlin, Zane and Michi, and Dante and Nicole. So big group. Big group of people. And Travis decides to plan the whole thing, and he decides to take everyone out to the arcade. So like I said before, Michi's out with them as well. I don't know why they keep inviting Michi to things when she keeps sabotaging them. But during the date, Michi's like, I don't like Zane, I like Aaron. And so she tries to steal Aaron away from Aphmau. Also during this Valentine's date at the arcade, all the girls go in the bathroom and they do a little girl talk, and Lucinda actually tells them she brought a love potion with them just in case if anyone needed it. Michi overhears this in the bathroom and she's like, I'm gonna use that on Aaron. So while Aaron's off getting Aphmau a snack, Michi actually tries to use the love potion on him, but instead of it being a love potion, it's actually one that makes you look identical to a person, and it makes her look exactly like Aphmau. She uses the potion and she goes up to Aaron and she's like, oh my god, Aaron, kiss me. And Aaron goes to kiss her because he thinks that's Aphmau. But then the real Aphmau comes around the corner and is like, what the hell? And then as soon as she turns around the corner, Michi turns back to normal. And Aaron's like, it's not what it looks like. And she's like, how could you? However, Garth and Lawrence saw the whole thing, and they tell Aphmau that Michi used a potion, and Aaron wasn't trying to kiss smoochy with Michi. And she's like, that makes sense. So at the end of the date, Aaron walks Aphmau home, and after their date, they kiss in front of the door, and it's really sweet, and it's like, oh, cute. And then Zane comes out and acts like her dad, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole running bit that Zane's like her father. So it's a little bit later, and Valentine's Day's long and gone. And Vlad, Garth and Zane's younger brother, actually comes back into town. He ends up asking Aphmau if he can stay with them for a few days just until his new apartment gets finished up. And she's like, yeah, sure, but you have to live in our basement. He's like, bet. And so Vlad's now living in their basement. So a week or so later, Vlad's still chilling at Aphmau's house. His mother calls him and is like, oh my God, is Zane dating Aphmau? And he's like, huh? Apparently their mother saw that Aphmau posted a selfie with Zane, and she made assumptions and was like, oh my God, they're dating. I'm so proud of him. So Garth and Vlad try to tell their mom, like, no, Zane's not dating her. They're just friends. And she becomes upset and she's sad. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, okay, fine, they are dating, Mom. And she's like, I knew it. I'm coming into town. So this leads to Garth, Vlad, and Zane begging Aphmau to pretend to date Zane while their mom is in town to make her happy.
Well, looks like I'm in the clear. Now I gotta get back to...
Aphmau!
Gareth! What the... How did you even...
There was a ladder in the garage.
So Aphmau unwillingly agrees and is like, fine, I will do it, but she just does so many things where she's like, fine, I guess I'll do it. So they're pretending to date in front of Zane's mom for about a day, and at the mall, they end up running into Aaron, and Aaron's like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, I can't explain this. Savannah ends up inviting Aaron out to dinner with them, and so it's really awkward because Zane and Aphmau are pretending to date in front of Aaron. Aaron has to act like nothing's going on between him and Aphmau, and Garth is also there with Vlad. It's all just awkward. It's a mess. But they go to Olive Garden, and remember when I said how Michi's like Trish from Austin Alley? Well, Michi's also apparently working at Olive Garden now, and she decides, because she's still mad about the whole date thing, that she puts a love potion in Aphmau's drink to make her fall in love with Zane and to make Aaron mad. So the potion does wear off, but like during that time when she was under that love potion, it was obvious that Zane was like kind of having feelings for her a little bit, or like maybe, I'm not even sure if that was even confirmed. Either way, you could tell during this whole thing that Zane wasn't minding too much, acting like Aphmau's boyfriend. And I think that's what made Aaron very jealous. And Garth too. He's like, damn, my own brother got closer to her than I did. Aphmau's like, we need to tell your mom the truth, guys, because I can't keep doing this. So Zane talks to his mom after the whole thing, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Mom, that I lied to you. And she's like, I'm just happy that you have a good friend, Zane. So after that whole like fake dating thing or whatever, the tensions are high with Aaron and Zane, because it's obvious that Aaron wants to date Aphmau, and Zane is just like, she's my best friend. So the gang all decide to go to a convention that's coming called A-Con, and during this convention, Zane and Aaron actually end up having a talk about Aphmau, and basically Zane being like, I just don't want you to take her away from me, Aaron. And Aaron's like, I would never do that. He asked Zane for basically his blessing to be with Aphmau, and he's like, yeah, go for it, Aaron. And Aaron and Aphmau have a heart-to-heart in this convention center hotel, and they kiss, and they are officially dating. At the end of the last episode, they tell all their friends, being like, we're dating, and everybody's like, woo! And some people are like, we saw this coming like years ago. But yes, and then they take the iconic group picture, and that is the end of season 1. That is the gist of it, basically. There is a lot of mini things in there that I could have went over. There's a lot of detail about a lot of characters in this season. I feel like the comedy in season 1 is just still so good. It's so goofy, and the bits in it are so funny. Anyways, I love season 1. A lot happens in it, and it's very silly goofy. I love the silly goofy era. Part 4, when we cover Love Love Paradise, will be coming out as fast as I can get it done, but that one is also pretty long, so it may be a little bit. Anyways, Live, Laugh, Love, season 1 of MyStreet. You are beloved, the love of my life. And God, if you were an anime, you would definitely be top 10.